Hello friends. Today we have a Sony speaker for repair. It is disassembled in the following way. Unscrew the screws on the side and from below, and then take out the side part of the case. Now I will disassemble. As the client said, some microcircuit burned out there. On the left side we have the battery. We also need to unscrew the screws on top and on the back of the speaker. Look what I managed to find here. Here is a burnt microcircuit. Also, all over the board you can see that water got in, and in 3 places you can see that there was flooding. We need to look at the whole board under a microscope and figure out where we have more damage. Now I'll try to read the name of the burnt out microcircuit. I was lucky and found a diagram for this speaker on the internet. The burned out chip is a DC-DC converter. Everything around this converter is in a short circuit. I want to unsolder it and then check again whether the short circuit has gone away. It is possible that it has taken some other components with it. In order to unsolder the converter, you first need to unsolder the capacitors that are nearby. Otherwise they can be melted with a hairdryer. You need to remove 3 capacitors. After that, I will remove the burnt microcircuit using a hairdryer. Well, friends, I unsoldered the microcircuit. Then I found a short circuit on the capacitor, but it shouldn't be there. Then I unsoldered the Zener diode and the short circuit went away. It turns out it burned out along with the microcircuit. We need to replace these 2 parts and then try to start it again. I bought a new converter and will install it now. I also replaced the Zener diode. Now these elements are new. The speaker still does not turn on after all this, so there is another defect. We need to look for it. The repair will obviously not be easy. I will continue to look. So, friends, I replaced this microcircuit and this Zener diode. Next, you need to check if there is power on the microcircuit that I replaced. If there is no power to it, then it will not be able to work. You need to check the arrival of 2 voltages of 24 volts and 12 volts. The diagram shows where these voltages should come from. If these voltages come to the converter, then you need to see if there is a voltage of 5 volts at the converter output. If 5 volts are present, then everything is fine and the speaker should work. If these voltages are not there, then you need to look for a break. Then 5 volts come to the U31 microcircuit. You will also need to see if there is a voltage of 5 volts at the input and 3.3 volts at the output. If there is none at the output, then this microcircuit has also burned out. Since the Zener diode burned out, the overvoltage could have gotten to the U31 microcircuit. We continue repairing the Sony speaker. I found this kind of damage under the radiator. The pins of the microcircuit simply burned out and turned into ashes. And all the peripherals around the microcircuit are heavily damaged. Now I will clean it and look at the diagram and compare the ratings of all the components. The large microcircuit is our sound amplifier. There is another microcircuit nearby. There is not much damage there, but it is still there, so I need to clean the pins and solder the damaged areas. I also found one burnt resistor. Instead of SMD, I picked up another type but with the same characteristics. Next, I will check all the components nearby and need to order the amplifier microcircuit. I also restored 2 legs of the amplifier. As you can see, they are shorted to each other, so I did them together at once. I also restored the positive leg located on the back side of the microcircuit because it simply burned out in the middle. I need to check 2 more SMD resistors that are on the right and left sides. I also soldered some capacitors because the soldering points of these components were damaged. There was also a flood near the processor in this place. I started checking the resistors that were hit by water, and resistor 321 should be 100 kilo ohms. But in fact it shows 220 kilo ohms. I took a resistor from a donor board, but it is a little bigger than the one that melted, so I will have to think about how to solder it there. Here is how I managed to solder it. I soldered one end to the board and the second one was soldered on the other side using copper wire. There seem to be no more problems on the processor side. So I need to wait until the amplifier arrives and I will install it. The microcircuit has finally arrived. Here is the old one and here is the new microcircuit. Now I will solder it with a soldering iron because the tracks are damaged and you need to be very careful when installing the microcircuit. Before installing, you need to make sure that you have installed it correctly. For this, there is a dot on the microcircuit and on the board. It is also a key. I will work with a microscope. Well, friends, as you can see, I managed to defeat this rather complicated speaker, and now it works without any problems. This speaker was given to me for repair when I was in Moscow. So I will send it there too. The repair took about a month. I waited a very long time for spare parts. I've been testing the speaker for about 20 minutes now, and there are no problems. Well, friends, I hope the video was useful, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos. Bye!